It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha! Feedback Friday. Hey guys, like my shirt? I enjoy this shirt. I was very happy about it. It just came yesterday, and I'm like, I'm gonna do a video Feedback Friday so I can wear this shirt. Very excited. There is little that is more me than this shirt. Comic books and feminism. Yes, please. But stay tuned to the end of the video for information about that sort of thing. First, instead of addressing specific comments this week, I want to do a little primer on how to leave a comment that is productive. Not necessarily nice, not necessarily flattering, but productive. Because the comments are settling down, and that's good. You guys should know by now I am not going to back away from topics because they're unpopular. I am not going to back away from topics because things get noisy. So I was not about to stop doing content that was doing good numbers because people were threatening me with various things. And by threatening, I mean, I'm not going to watch your channel unsubbed. You're not being good to your fans, all that stuff. No. I don't respond to that. The entire point of doing what we're doing here is to talk about things that may be difficult in a respectful way. So first, I want to say, yes, the comments have been settling. And the other thing I wanted to say is the reason I'm doing this is because I don't think that the majority of the people leaving unproductive comments, I don't think they're trolls. And I don't think they're haters a lot of the time. I think that some people have just gotten so used to flame warring on internets that collectively people have forgotten that content creators do have the right to refuse to acknowledge things that are not productive. And that is not hand-waving. That is not ignoring legitimate criticism. That is, what do you want me to do? And there's only so many times you can ask, what do you want me to do, before you ignore it. And so in the spirit of that, I want to break down the best way to leave a productive comment that will get a response that is actually something more than, I don't know what I can do. So step one, do not lead with an insult. I don't think I'm the only one that immediately disregards someone who starts off a comment with, oh my god, how can you be so stupid? Or your clear bias is showing, or all this stuff. Why? Why would I even respond to that? There's no, you come across as being impossible to please when you start with an insult. The next part, avoid assumptions of intent. You clearly are trying to, whatever, just stop right there. You can't know. And even when you spend a lot of time with a person, even when you know a person well, sometimes you can assume the wrong thing about a person's motivations. Well, you couldn't possibly have meant anything other than this. People are not simple. And so if you want to say something's coming across a certain way to you, that's valid. But to just flat out say that somebody has this conspiratorial agenda, again, no point in me addressing that. It seems like a lost cause. And this is going to be the ongoing theme here of, this is the way you engage, seeming like you're someone who can actually be satisfied by changes or by addressing something, as opposed to somebody who's just never happy about anything, or worse, trying to bully. And I think some people, this is going to sound really weird, but are trying to bully without realizing that's what they're doing. Because everything has become so loud and so confrontational on the internet that people don't realize that things like you're going to lose all your fans or you're going to do this or you're going to threatening some doom and gloom scenario. It's not causing somebody to see the error of their ways. It's asking someone to pander to a popularity contest. And while some YouTubers may care about that, you're in the wrong place for that. I've been doing this a long time. Okay? I don't think a lot of people realize I have been a media professional for half my life now. And I was a competitive entertainer before that. 2/3 of my life have been spent performing in some way. If I was going to pander, I would have done it a long time ago. I've been around too long to change why I do things to appease the masses. Because what I've learned is public taste is fickle. You can be the next big thing 1 minute and be yesterday's news the next. And so you have to stay true to yourself and sort of wait for the cycles to catch up. You have to just keep paddling and hope to catch a wave. That's how longevity in entertainment works. So once we've avoided getting off on the wrong foot, what is really useful is if you don't just say, I didn't like this, I didn't like this, I didn't like this, I didn't like this. What did you enjoy? Or what in general do you enjoy on this channel? Because that tells me why you've come in. If somebody says, like there was a comment last week where they were like, I only watch Mountain Mondays and Tatas Tuesdays and now I know why. It's like, well, yes, this is why I theme the different days on the channel so that people know Monday videos and Tuesday videos are a particular theme. And I do this because it is, to me, easier for people than having one channel here and one channel here and one channel here and you don't know which channel something is on. All my content is in one place. And that's fine. If you only watch Mondays and Tuesdays, that is fine. If that is the content you like, fine. But the whole point of the different days is for it to be different. So there's this phenomenon in media called the werewolf cookbook phenomenon. And it's mostly in publishing. But it's basically, this is a cookbook and it's an all right cookbook, but I like werewolves and there were no werewolves in this cookbook. So the person wants a werewolf cookbook, which nobody writes. And this is sort of a way of encapsulating in a funny way the fact that people will complain about things not being for them, even though there is plenty of content out there for them. There are plenty of werewolf stories. Don't expect a cookbook to be a werewolf story. So if you like the werewolf stories on Monday, by all means, keep watching the werewolf story, right? Keep watching Momo Mondays. I am taking the advice of a few commenters who got very excited Mountain Mondays because Motivation Monday is the hashtag. I think I will be doing Momo Mondays instead of Mountain Mondays. It's more personal, right? It's more personal. Momo's a big part of this channel, and then the kittens and all this stuff. And so it's a way to put cat cuteness in, because one thing I've learned, thanks to your feedback, is unless there's some element of opinion, I can't just post a video game video. I can't just post a cat video. There has to be some not quite clickbait topic that brings people in. Not gonna fight it anymore. Sometimes I will post things just for me, but they weren't things I am going to expect to do especially well. And that's the next step. Please, when you make a comment, understand that you may prefer a certain type of content, but it doesn't do especially well. And this is the big challenge. People are like, I prefer when you just do game content. That's great. The 600 of you that enjoy the game content, that's awesome. The problem is there's another 1,000 regular viewers who don't watch the gaming content. And so unfortunately, yes, 600 people is a fairly large minority that like the gaming content. It's just not enough to do more of it. So while I'm not going to stop doing it, for instance, I can't add more because it's just not catching on its own. Also, I just don't have enough contacts with game companies about games that are interesting to people and time to play them and do all this other stuff. So try to be reasonable in your expectations when you leave a comment. And if it is something I've brought up before, like, I know you said the gaming stuff doesn't do well, but here's like, just acknowledge I've said it, because I can't keep having the same debate over and over and over again. There has to be forward movement. And I'm just saying this because people don't like being ignored. But I can't answer the same complaint 4 times. It's boring for everybody. So once you've shown some knowledge and awareness of what's going on with this channel, be specific. Be specific in your complaints. Don't be, you clearly don't know anything about this, or how could you, I can't even. Sorry guys, bleeding. But how do I put this? People will get absolutely outraged about something. Some people will put a time code in. I don't have time to jump to the part of the video that has a time code. Tell me what the issue is. Encapsulate what you think you understood. Because so often people put the time code in and I do take the time and I go there. It's like, how did they get that from what I said? I need to know what you took, what you understood from what I was getting at. Because the first step is figuring out whether it's just a misunderstanding. And most of the time it very much is. I mean, the classic example was that interview that was about protecting kids from cyberbullying, and a whole bunch of comments were about violence in video games. And I was sitting here going, how did this connect to that? And it was like 2 or 3 mental steps to get there. And all it took is one person to jump, and then a bunch of people went with them, and I was left going. And you can't expect me to follow those leaps. And the more outraged you seem, the harder it is to understand what the core of your complaint is. And so what it ends up looking like is, okay, you're clearly angry at something. I have no idea what it is because all you're doing is swearing and calling me names and telling me I'm the devil, or going on a tirade about this topic that you clearly care very much about, but you haven't linked it to a specific piece of content so I can understand. And if I can't understand what you're saying, I can't respond to what you're saying. And it's happened quite a bit lately where I've read a comment and gone, I don't know what this is. And people, oh, you just hand wave away criticism. It's like, no, I don't understand it. I don't understand what the actual criticism is. I understand you're pissed off. I understand you think I'm bad somehow, but I don't know why. And if I don't know why, I can't make an adjustment to make it clearer. Other things have been, like an example of where this has worked is the not all thing. And this is not something that bothers me except in one-on-one conversations. And I will usually give somebody a chance to correct themselves before I go off on them. If it's like, you know what feminists do? It's like, well, please tell me, note the shirt. Please tell me what feminists do. Proceed carefully, since this guy. But I don't get freaked out outrage, will never watch again. I recognize that someone is generalizing. Sometimes for effect, sometimes just because they were being careless with their words. But I filter that. Now, this bothers other people a great deal, so I personally try to watch that habit to the best of my ability, but that is because people pointed out that they don't like being all lumped in, and that is a fair thing to ask. It is fair to treat people like individuals and not lump all adherents to a particular set of beliefs as the same, morally. Perfectly fine. You know, there were even people in certain demonized political parties back in the day that were sort of forced in so they didn't kill their families, you know? There are exceptions to every rule, so that's fine. And if that's a correction I can make so you guys can listen in a calmer place, I'm happy to do that. But little things like that are easier to... They're possible to address. Not even easier, they're possible to address. You thinking I'm a stupid idiot who needs to learn facts and doesn't know what I'm talking about, there's no starting point there. And that's the last bit I want to ask for. You know, as a favor to make this more, because people are getting frustrated. People feel like they're not being heard. They're not being addressed. Yada. So this is my attempt to make communication clearer. This is not an attempt to lecture. This is not an attempt to talk down to people, as one person accused me of this week. It's just, this is how things are going to function a lot better. But if you're just saying, this is bad, 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 and you offer no alternative, if I could think of another way to do something, guys, I would. Like, it's pretty simple, right? And I mean, the example from this week on that is a lot of people in my VR groping video just said, oh, a melee attack will be exploited by trolls. Really, guys? Every game that has a melee attack is exploited by trolls? Really? A melee attack. But it's just easily exploited by trolls. Easily exploited by trolls. No one offered an alternative idea or how to minimize that exploitation. It was just not going to work. That's not productive. You're just shooting it down and not replacing it with anything. So, other than arguing you and saying, look, you've never seen a context-sensitive attack, a combo breaker, a counter move. You actually think a troll can trick someone into actively stepping into a person's personal space? How do you do that? Like, it was just, it'd be exploited by trolls. No one said how, and no one offered an alternative. Well, that is criticism I am just going to dismiss, because it's real easy to say why something won't work. Nothing is a sure thing. It is much more productive to say, how about this? Because that makes me happy. If someone's saying, I'm not sure about this, but here's my suggestion, then we have a dialogue and then we're getting somewhere. I'm looking for a buy-in. I'm looking for actual community participation so we can solve some of these issues together. And if everybody's just sitting back going, nope, not going to work. I say so. I don't have to back up what I'm saying at all. It's just, nope, exploited by trolls. Nope, exploited by trolls. Guys, the entire thing about trolls is that they exploit things. So, the way games work is people put something in, they try it, they play test it, and if it doesn't work, they fix it. But you gotta put it in to try it. And so this, nope, not gonna work, it's just counter to the way game development works. So that's just an example of don't shoot things down without a reason. Don't just say, no, you're wrong. You need to find the facts. Present the facts. You have the forum here to present facts. Do it. Instead of going, educate yourself. Whoa! I clearly have found the wrong education, so please enlighten me. Long on emotion, short on detail doesn't work. And so to summarize, I need a relatively calm, insult-free, or minimal insult. Like, the more insulting you are, the less likely you're going to get a hearing. That's just fair. Like, that's just human. But I need details. I need specifics. And I need to know basically the who, what, when, where, why, and how of it. What part of the video are you talking about? What about it did you object to? What do you suggest instead, and why? Use your words and let me know why this bothers you, instead of just, you said this, how could you say that? It's like, I don't see the problem with it. Okay? Okay. Hopefully, this will make comments easier for me to understand. Because I did have to ban a couple people this week, and it might have been why the comments have gotten a lot quieter, but I don't want to do that too often. These are people, just so you guys know, these are people who have been persistent problems for a really long time, have had multiple warnings and didn't stop. So you're not just going to get booted off for saying something on a bad day, okay? I need you to understand that. Because I don't like doing this. I would rather make videos like this and try to work this out with you guys and find a sort of common language to have these discussions than just start booting people. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's just me. I don't like shutting someone out. Because a lot of the people who start off as kind of jerky, it's because they're scared or because they're going through a bad time. And sometimes just feeling like there's the ability to screw up a few times and it's not the end of the world calms things down, and they actually have a lot of good ideas. And I need to ask the same thing from you guys. Like, I have never claimed to be perfect. The very reason I do these things is in part to correct errors I make. So, chill. I'm not your enemy because I say one or two things you disagree with or have a different perspective on something politically. I am never looking to change your mind. And this is part of the reason that I do my own stuff now as opposed to writing a lot of freelance op-ed. Is the note I get a lot in op-ed is the intent is to persuade, speak, and that's why you get a lot of these rah, 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 keyboard warrior op-ed pieces, right? I don't want to do that. I want to be, sometimes I will be like, damn it, but other times it's like, here's the information. Here's the information, do with it what you will. You will never get here's the information, do with it what you will piece published on a gaming website today. Just, no, it won't get enough clicks. So that's why I'm here. And this brings me to the thing I said at the beginning of the video, State of the End. It was supposed to be launched already, but it's going to be held over to February because of various distractions. I won't be vague on this one. In order to do what I'm about to vaguely talk about, it requires media which is friendly to games, aware of video games, but is not the video game press. And that media has been consumed with the US election. Even up here in Canada, there are Canadian reporters down in Washington covering the US election because it will affect us. But so the idea that there would be any media attention put on my piddly little thing while the insanity south of the border is going on, it was just a non-starter. And then, so there won't be any time to kick anything off until after November 15th, because it's going to be pre-election and then election and then post-election, and then everybody will kind of settle down. And then, for people who don't know, a lot of journalists leave mid-month, and so they have to get a lot of their stories filed before like December 9th or 10th. So doing any sort of project that needs media attention in December is an absolute non-starter. And then my sister's getting married at the beginning of the month, so I want to leave January for people to get over sort of the holidays. And then come February, I will be doing a crowdfunding campaign for the follow-up series to A Gamer's Guide to Feminism. It is going to be less overtly feminist and more an examination of women's issues, just because it's more neutral. It's the same thing, it's just a different word. But it will be a more direct focus on games and gaming and game characters. Hopefully some history of games if it hits a stretch goal. It will be a companion piece, so it will be expanding on what we did. Because what we did worked. People liked it. It didn't blow up. I admit some of the reason I didn't launch this campaign in the heat of the election cycle is there was so much feminism for profit and not so much fun going on, and I didn't want to be accused of capitalizing on that. I also didn't want to get into one of those, we're going to shut down your Kickstarter, and then all the headlines become about that. I don't want that. I don't want that. I want to have a discussion about ideas, not get into this moral outrage paradigm. And I would rather things stay smaller than, you know, have millions of people aware of it, but all they're covering is the, oh, isn't she a poor victim storyline, as opposed to actually looking at a single one of my ideas. So that's what's coming up. I don't want to say too much about it because I want to bring my Patreon patrons into the mix and get their feedback first. So if you are a Patreon patron, look for something coming through the Patreon message service. I believe it delivers to inboxes depending on your settings. But you will get more details in this in the next, it'll be out by next Friday. So by next Feedback Friday, you will know, and there will be some indication of an online kind of town hall to discuss this project and get your input first, because this is going to be a funding thing, and you guys have already provided funding. Your funding is the bed on which this will be a top-up. So the budget for this project has been adjusted based on the Patreon money already coming in. So you guys are not, your money's not worthless, and I'm not expecting you to double dip. If you do want to kick in, that's great, but I want to make it clear that the people that are supporting monthly are going to make this happen as much as the Kickstarter campaign. It's the only reason I've been able to keep going to this point. Now, if you want to be involved in this process, become a patron. $1 a month, okay? $1 a month for, what is it, November, December, January. So for $3, you can be a part of this process, and you can learn what's coming, and you can have your feedback, and you can say, I'd like, you know, this character to be involved in this game, or this is what I'm really interested, this is what I'd like to see more in. That's what these are going to be about. Now, there's going to be a limited number of things, but you also get messaging privileges on Patreon. So if you miss it, or you have to watch it, or you have an idea, you can just message me. This is the benefit of being a patron. And I am sticking to this, and it's something I picked up for being around the Something Awful boards. I know, right? When they put in that $10 one-time membership fee. I need to know the feedback I'm getting is from people who are invested, not just people who are looking to influence something without buying it. And so this is sort of weeding people out because, again, I need to know that this is somebody who is actually a supporter instead of just a critic. Because I don't make content to appease critics. That's a terrible idea. I make content to maximize benefit to my supporters. So Patreon is in the description box. It's just patreon.com/Leanna K. Become a patron today so you can get in on this. And I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with the work that's been done on this so far. There are episode outlines, there are breakdowns, there is a budget, everything like that. This is all done. Like, this is what I've been working on. So, very excited to finally be able to share this with you guys. And membership has its privileges, right? So, see you next week. Patrons, see you sooner. Thank you again. And see you guys back on Motivation Monday.